Hey guys, Ashley D. Will here, and I want to do a video on Romans 4:15 and how it dovetails with Colossians 2:14. Okay, we're talking about transgression of the law and what has happened to the law. Okay, so let's go over this verse. Romans 4:15 says, "For the law results in divine wrath." So that's what happens. The law results in divine wrath. But, let's circle that. That's a very important word. But usually means God is up to something and he's doing something to fix the problem. For the law results in divine wrath, but where there is no law, there is no transgression of it either. Where there is no law, there is no transgression of it. Okay, so what is he talking about? Well, the law condemns. It brings divine wrath, right? That's what it does. That is its nature. And that is why in the old covenant, in the tabernacle and the temple, they had to do those repeated sacrifices. Otherwise, the wrath of God was going to come. And so every time they made that, the bull and the goats, the fire of God would come down from heaven and consume the sacrifice. So the wrath of God that came from the law was consuming and going towards the sacrifice and burning it up so that his wrath was satisfied. But it was only the blood of bulls and goats, so it was never really finished. And so that's why they kept having to do that. So the law always results in divine wrath. Remember, it's the ministry of condemnation. That's what the law is. That's what Corinthians tells us. For the law results in divine wrath, but where there is no law, there's no transgression of it either. Now, what is this where there is no law? What is that talking about? What in the world is that saying? Well, let's go down to Colossians 2:14. Now let me read you that section right before it so you can hear the whole thing in context. Let's do verse 2 of Colossians 2, verse 13. And you who were, past tense, dead in trespasses and in the uncircumcision of your flesh, your sensuality, your sinful carnal nature, God brought to life together with Christ, having freely forgiven us all our transgressions. And then to verse 14, having canceled and blotted out the written code with its demands which stood against us. This decree with its demands he set aside and cleared it completely out of our way by nailing it to his cross. Okay, so what is this written code with all of its demands? What is he talking about here? And it stood against us. Well, what he's talking about, the written code with its demands, is the law. It is the law. The written code with its demands is the law. And how did the law stand against us? Because it condemned us. We could never fulfill it. It was the thing that condemned us, and Satan used it day and night to accuse us. That is the case that he could have against us. Being under the law, if you're under the law, he can accuse you night and day, and you're guilty. You are. And so that was his weapon, was the law. And that's how he could go before the throne of God and say, this person has broken your law. Well, he was right. See? So this law with its demands that could never be fulfilled by humans, because it was the righteousness of God that we cannot attain, it stood against us. That meant it stood in our way from going to heaven. We couldn't go to heaven because we were always accused by the law of God. So this written code with its demand which stood against us, which was the law, and it was the decree with its demands, God set aside. God set aside, and he cleared it completely out of our way. How did he do that? How did he take the law that was accusing us night and day, that was Satan's best weapon against us? How did he take it out of the way so we could get to heaven? Well, Jesus Christ came, and what did he do while he was here? He was born under the law, of a woman under the law, so that he could fulfill the law. Check. For us. Christ came and lived so that he could fulfill the law for us. And when he was on the cross, because he had fulfilled it, he could take it and nail it to the cross. God nailed it to his cross. When Christ was on the cross, God nailed the law which Christ had just fulfilled to the cross, saying, "It is finished. It is done. Complete is finished forever. Fini." Okay? So the Lord has canceled and blotted out the written code, the law, with all of its demands that we could never fulfill, and it stood against us, it accused us, and it kept us from heaven. This decree with its demands, God, we didn't do this. God set it aside by fulfilling it. He fulfilled it, and he cleared it completely out of our way by nailing it to his cross. He nailed it to the cross. And so that is how it is finished. Satan can no longer accuse us because God has taken the law off the table. It's not an issue anymore. And so that is how Romans 4:15 is saying, for the law results in divine action, but where there is no law, there's no transgression of it either. Where is there no law? You know where there's no law? In Christ Jesus. There is no law. And over here, I have the question I just answered is, where is there no law with its demands, its incessant demands? Where is there no law? There's no law in Jesus Christ. In Jesus Christ. That's the only place that there is no law. Right there. And there's no other place in the entire universe where you're going to get away with not fulfilling the Ten Commandments. Because the Ten Commandments is the written righteousness of God. It is the righteousness of God in written form. Okay? Likewise, Jesus Christ is the righteousness of God in living form. In living form. And so when you look to him for your salvation, you have fulfilled the law because you get it credited to you. That's how he credits his righteousness to you. And so in Jesus Christ, God gives us faith that slowly works itself out over time, so that we, in our own way and in our own time and in God's own way and in his own time, fulfills the law of love through us. And Galatians 5:14 talks about that. If you want to look up about the law of love, it's throughout the New Testament. But the law of love is what we live by now. When we love other people as we love ourselves, not more than we love ourselves, not less than we love ourselves, but as we love ourselves, then we're fulfilling all the law when we do that. Okay? So this is the point right here. Jesus Christ has fulfilled the law for us. And because the law results in divine wrath, Jesus Christ had to take the divine wrath for us on the cross. He took it all the divine wrath for all the sin for all mankind. He took it all. He became all of the sin. And so that's how he took the divine wrath. And so, and then it says down here that the written code was nailed to the cross. So when he took this divine wrath for the sin, he also had fulfilled the law by his perfect life. And so in that, he paid for all the sin and he fulfilled the law. So that's how he, the Lord set it aside and cleared it completely out of our way by nailing it to his cross. And that's how he could say it's finished, because the sin was paid for and the law was fulfilled for all who believe. Is this making sense to anybody? So this is kind of how these two verses are very similar. They dovetail together, and they're basically saying the same thing, that the Lord has taken the law off the table. If you're in Jesus Christ, the law is behind you. You can let that go, and you can just focus on abiding in Christ, because he has fulfilled the law for you. And when you abide in him, he will teach you to love others as you love yourself. And in that abiding, in those lessons, you will be fulfilling the law of Christ, which covers all the law. Okay? So I hope this makes sense. Y'all go read Galatians 5:14 and Romans 4:15 and Colossians 2:14 in your own Bible, in your own translation, and see how your understanding may have gotten a little bit deeper after hearing this. And maybe you can let the truth of the fact that you're not under the law anymore, you're in Jesus Christ, it will be able to sink down more into your heart. Okay? Because the law and Jesus Christ are separate. They're very separate. They're as opposite as night and day. Okay? So I hope this is helpful, and God bless you guys.